Let me send out one more text to remind everybody. Okay, so we'll open up in prayer. I'll open up. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the world, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we do now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thee alone do we beseech for thy name. O Allah, guide us on the right path. Guide us on the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors upon, and not the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down upon, nor the path of those who go astray after hearing thy teaching. Ameen. 1 second, my brother. To those who are logging on. Got that. 1 second. There was a brother reached out to me on Facebook. He wanted to get on, so he's going to be calling in too. So we're going to mute everyone. So first and foremost, we thank everybody who has taken the time out to make sure that they call in and participate in these conference calls. I know we have a numerous amount of conference calls coming, but, that's why we really strive to make that sure that this one is of substance and is straight and is straight to the point. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a couple of years ago, he mentioned how he wanted to have 1,000 ministers, right, student ministers. And this call is not an official ministry class call. The purpose of this call is really just to present those who are in the ministry and looking for help and looking for guidance and looking for assistance, and those who desire to be in the ministry the opportunity to gain from the experiences, gain from the trials, gain from the successes, gain from the shortcomings of those in our nation who have a wealth of experience. And we are familiar with the problem book. It talked about how Musa, the caveman, had the number of books he had, 59,999. When I think about that, when I read that problem, it makes me realize that that problem is also talking about us as human beings, that we are books. And I say that to say that we have people in our nation, just like the brother we're going to hear from tonight, who is a book. And our brother is not talking about something in theory. He's talking about something that he has actually done. And I don't know, maybe when he can come on, he'll be able to tell us if that was the first time that Mosque in Pensacola, it became a mosque in the history of the Nation of Islam. It's now Mosque number 98, and he's now the student minister of Mosque number 78 in our powerful region of the southern region under student minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad. So our brother is the student minister in Jackson, Mississippi. And he's doing a wonderful job, great brother, and proof is in the pudding. So without further delay, we're going to bring up our brother Dr. Abram Muhammad. And I greet you all the greeting words of peace and paradise as I leave. Assalamu alaikum. And Brother Abram, you can hit the code so you can unmute yourself and we can get started.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I too bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is, in fact, his messenger. I greet all my brothers and sisters who may be on the line with the greeting words of peace once again of Assalamu alaikum. I want to first and foremost thank Almighty God, Allah, for seeing enough in a wretch like myself to allow me to serve in this august body of army of righteous men and women striving hard to bring about heaven on earth. I want to thank his direct servant in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for allowing me the opportunity to attempt to represent, some say represent, but to represent him to the believers and to the rest of the masses of our people. And I want to thank you, Brother Willie, for giving me the opportunity to come on the line this evening and share a few words. And I fast and pray that Allah guides my heart, my mind, and my spirit to give of experience and some things that may be of encouragement, but more so of direction that would help us to grow. I want to thank your student regional minister, Brother Minister Robert Muhammad, for seeing enough in you to allow you to serve in the capacity in which you serve and allow me to come on the line, as well as my regional commander, Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad. So with all of that being said, I don't want to belabor in time. I've been asked to come on the line to deal with how do we grow study groups to Mosque. And before I do so, just allow me to give a little backdrop of your brother so you can get an idea of some of the things I may say and why the mindset is the way it is. I was born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. Left there, went into the Marine Corps for 8 years, where I served 4 years in infantry and the last 4 as a small arm weapons instructor, scout sniper. Went to combat twice, was blessed to come home, and while in the military is when I ran across a brother who was in the 5% Nation, and that was my first introduction into Islam. While being in 5%, I became married, and blessedly, my wife said that that was something more that needed to be done spiritually than just being able to quote the lessons. And so with that being said, I got out of the Marine Corps and was on the police force in Richmond, Virginia, and that's when I came into the Nation of Islam at that time. While in the Nation, I finished school with Criminal Justice Administration and went on to receive my master's and doctorate in seminary in biblical exegesis. During that time there, I was blessed to serve in various posts as the secretary, the captain, and protocol, and then later promoted into the ministry class. While there, we built the study group for Petersburg, connected to Muhammad Mosque number 24 in Richmond. And from that standpoint, I had some family situations that take place that brought me to Florida. And while in Florida, taking care of my mother, who has now made her transition a few years ago, I was I moved to Florida to help take care of her, as I said. And while there, was inherited to the study group, where we started out with 7 believers there. And within a 2-year time frame, we were blessed to grow from 7 believers to 52 and became the newest mosque that's currently in the nation right now, which is Muhammad Mosque number 98. After that time frame and after my mother passed, was assigned here, came here to Jackson, Mississippi, to Muhammad Mosque number 78. While here, beautiful believers, beautiful spirit, the absolute best time I've had in my Islamic life since I've been here in the great state of Mississippi. But we were dealing with some issues at the time from an administrative standpoint and as a growth standpoint. And along with the great help that was here and the great believers was here, we were able to pull up our stats and pull up our work and pull up our efforts to last year being the number 3 overall mosque in the nation by Allah's grace and mercy. So how do these things come about? Well, let's first start about dealing with the study group. First and foremost, you have to have the mindset and understand that that's exactly what you are. You have to accept the fact that although a lot of responsibilities may come at you, a lot of responsibilities may be thrown at you, a lot of responsibilities may be asked of you, and that's exactly what we should do, strive to make all of those. But you have to keep in mind that you are a study group. far too often what happens is that we assign people to certain positions just for the fact of having someone in those positions when necessarily the group as itself is not ready to function as such. So we have to know and understand that as a study group, that's exactly what we're there to do. So the first step is to realize that we come together on our meeting time, and what we did was that we used our meeting times, and since we didn't have any structural mandate as it is as of now, we get now what our Wednesday night study will be, what our Friday night study will be. If you all can recall, there was a time where our Wednesday was usually taught by the student ministers in the student ministry class at that time, and a Friday was a Friday night study based upon whatever we had, Message to the Black Man, the study guides, how to eat to live, so on and so forth, which are some of the premises of what we still do today. But those studies took place to build the foundation, to make the root as to being the study group in itself to who we were, the 7 of us that was there. We firmly engrossed and rooted ourselves into the course of study on Wednesdays and Fridays. But on Saturdays, Sundays, and Monday, we connected to the nearest mosque without fail. Why did we do that? We did that first and foremost for structure. It taught and showed the structure of how things are supposed to go, how things are supposed to be, and what it is we're supposed to be doing and what we're supposed to be learning. Secondly, it also quickened the pace of wanting to be able to take those things that you learn, come back and establish it yourself as you grow. But there must be a willing commitment to attach yourself to the nearest mosque, where the nearest mosque may be 2 hours away, maybe 3 hours away. Well, that's when the few of you that it may be come together and make it very festive. You make it enjoyable. You make it something that you look forward to in taking the believers to connect to the bigger mosque to receive those instructions and those guidance. Secondly, the first-time guests, the people that you will have to come out, that you will invite them to the study circle and to the study group itself, you will infuse them with the enjoyment of being able to go to the nearest mosque so they can see operation on a bigger scale and encourage them the importance of what it is for them to come and be a part of this so that we can come back and establish the own thing in our own individual cities. Now, how do you go by and do that? Brother, how did you take 7 and go to 51, 52 in 2 years? This is the part that you want to make note on, I would say. First and foremost, you have to be absolutely full of zeal, full of energy, full of the want to make it happen, to show and prove that this teaching is the absolute truth. So what did we do? We made our Wednesday and Friday night studies off time in the community center. What does that mean? We went to our local housing areas, talked to the housing managers, and were able to be assigned the community center on Wednesdays and Friday nights. So on those Wednesdays and Friday nights throughout the week, we would take flyers and go throughout that community, flood that community, and let the community know that the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been taught by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was taking place at the community center. What would be the theme of some of those teachings? We would talk about things that we knew was happening in the household to get the people to come out. Issues about how to deal with relationship and domestic violence, how to deal with the youth in today's society, how to deal with filling out a proper job application, how to fill out for a housing application, a car loan, how to get your child in school with grants and without having to take student loans. We would bring issues that we know that the community needed for our very survival to bring them out. And once they came out, we would cover those issues, but they would never leave without being a part of that study circle that came from the centerfold of the Final Call newspaper or came from one of the study guides given to us by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So what the people were buying into was, here's a group that's concerned about what's happening in my personal life. They're not just asking you to come to the community center or even asking me to come to their place where they meet just to try to teach me or indoctrinate me into their way. They're actually giving me something that's going to enrich and better my life. And when the people saw that we had a vested interest in the concern of their everyday lives, it quickened them to marry on to the teachings. So that was one of the steps that we took. We went into the community centers once again. We set up our Wednesdays and Friday night study where the people already were. Secondly, myself and two of the brothers, we would go into the barbershops on Saturday. And we would go in, and I would do as what we affectionately call pick a fight. I would go in and say something like, man, y'all don't know nothing about Jesus up in here. Y'all don't really love Jesus, or y'all don't know anything about, the teachings of Christ. And it would spark the conversation. And in that conversation, it allowed me to be able to exegete the word that was just given to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I didn't go in as Brother Abram to try to crack no atoms or try to go in with some doctoral degree that I may have and say all this and that. No, I went in as a student and just repeated what my teacher taught me, because that's what got me. And so I knew it would get them. And so we would go in what turned out to be a 10, 15-minute conversation, end up being half a day, sometime whole day. And those brothers in which we communicated with in the barbershop would end up coming out that following Sunday as we went to what we would call the Mother Mosque to hear the lecture given on Sunday. So there was activity where we went into the barbershop, we would start conversation, and we did this on every Saturday without fail. Every Saturday without fail. Thirdly, we would go to the playgrounds, the basketball court, the community atmosphere where our people were engaging in sport and play or whatever the case may be. And I literally would take a milk crate, set it up, and get a bullhorn and just start teaching on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What did it do? First of all, it caused a shock to our people. The first thing they said, and excuse my graphics, is they said, man, who is this nigga? What is he talking about? And it automatically gravitated them over to see, who is this short brother standing on a milk crate talking on a bullhorn? I mean, just bold out here talking like that. And what would be some of the things we would talk about? We would talk about how the black man is not really the real drug dealer and how you just small time on a big time scale. And we would talk about the essence of the black woman, how she must be protected, and how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said there's no such thing as a no good woman unless she was made that way by a no good man. We would talk about why they want to put our children on Ritalin and drug them up and so on and so forth, because our children's minds and being born directly from God and coming from the mindset of God is so far advanced of this dumbed-down education that they have, it's hard to keep their attention. So this would draw the people to what we were doing right there in the middle of the park. So the activities came from going to the community center, going to the barbershop. For the sisters, they would go to the salon, sit down and talk to the sisters in the beauty salon. But more importantly, on Sunday, after the mosque meeting, we would go to the park, where all our people would be, and would just go and start teaching the teachings that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught through the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Thirdly, as you go about getting people coming out, we collected their names. We collected their names, address, email, phone numbers, their complete information. And what I did was I had directly from my desk was a letter of thanking them for coming out and hearing what it is that we had to say. Even if they were right there in the park, I had 2 people assigned to get names and phone numbers so that they can get an actual thank you letter in their hand. Not an email, not a text message, but a physical letter in their hand, because what I learned in seminary school, I brought it to here, was that when someone gets something tangible in their hands coming from someone else, there's a connection to that person physically that brings about a mental connection. So whether it was 5 letters, 15 letters, one time in 1 week I sent out 63 letters. I'll never forget that number. But some of those same 63 are the ones that are registered in Pensacola, Florida right now. So they received a thank you letter for coming out to the meeting. 4th, before they received the thank you letter, and it really should have probably been 3rd, that I had what was called a follow-up team that I still use today. A follow-up team is a team that you develop of a brother and sister, or at the very least have a sister, to call those that came out to the meeting and thank them for coming out. The follow-up team mainly did their work on Sunday, and their job was to always call whoever came out to the Sunday meeting before 7 o'clock. For one, it was just courteous, and for 2, I don't know if you realize it, but a lot of people who come out for their first time, they get inspired, they get motivated, they get touched by these teachings. As soon as they get home, they catch hell. They catch hell from their spouse, they catch hell from their mother, from their father, their brother, their sister, their cousin, friends. They just catch it, most of them do. And it's very discouraging from the inspiration that they just got from coming and having one meeting with us. So it's very important that the follow-up team calls that very same day and thank them for coming out, because it impresses upon their mind that they're not in this alone, that somebody cares about me, that somebody cared enough to just call to say thank you on the same day for coming out to the meeting. By this time, you should be catching the theme of what helps your study group grow into a mosque is being thankful with activity. Activity with being thankful. If you're not faithful over little, you'll never be ruler over much. So therefore, when they got that phone call, it always started out with the main question. After we thank them for coming out, we just want to make sure that you felt like you was at home and amongst your family. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, it was a beautiful atmosphere. I thank y'all so much. And once again, did you like everything you heard? You agreed with it? You know it was good? You're getting them in the habit of saying yes, reminding them of yes, they accepted. Yes, I'm going to continue to accept this. And I just want to remind you that our next meeting, if it's a brother, will be tomorrow night. And we want you to come out to get more introduction into these teaching in our orientation class. If it's a sister, then you want to encourage her to be ready to come out to the next Wednesday night. Because to make her to wait all the way till Saturday, that's a long time of catching hell from those who want to discourage her from coming to be here just to come back from being amongst us. So you want to encourage her to come back out to that Wednesday night study. Once you do that, they receive that letter, then you get them coming out to the orientation class. Once they start coming out to the orientation class, you have to assign to him or her an orientation, what I affectionately call buddy, the orientation buddy. And what that orientation buddy does is ensure that they stay in the orientation class all the way through process and through register. How do they do that? They do so by staying in constant contact with them. They do so by making sure, do you need a ride to the class? Do you have the materials that you were told you need for the class? Are there any questions that you have where the class is concerned that I may be able to get your question up or might be able to address myself? that person has to be with them the whole way through in order to ensure or to help ensure that we get them from orientation to a newly registered X, to getting their name in the Lamb Book of Life. Far too often, we get people to come out, they accept, and we lose them right at the exception because we have no follow-up team to follow up and thank them for coming out, follow up to encourage them to come out. They don't receive anything tangible for those of us in the ministry class that connects them to the person in which they heard the word that's inspired them to want to learn and do more. And then once they come in, they're not connected to somebody to let them know that I've gone through the same process too. I understand some of the anxieties you may be dealing with. I understand some of the drawbacks you may be dealing with. But I'm here to help you get through the whole entire thing. I'm here to make sure you get to class, get home, here to help make sure you got the materials you need. Whatever you need to get you through, I'm here for you. And even once they X up, you still cannot become a Mosque just because you got somebody X'd up. You have to make sure that that newly X is now connected to someone strong that would teach them our way of devotion. But you have to understand that the orientation processing class is where the success lies. If the newly convert coming in is not orientated and processed properly as to their duties, the responsibilities, the love and devotion, everything that deals with our way, then they're not going to stick once they come out on the other side. This is why it's vitally important that we have somebody walk with them the whole way, and even once they're X'd up, to show them how do they soldier, how do they fish, how do they this, how do they that. Now, from study group to Mosque, it is very important to realize that although you may have newly registered X, if they do not make their Wednesdays and Friday meetings, if you do not have 15 or more to be at your Wednesday meeting, your Friday meeting, your MGT class, your FOI class, based upon what your numbers are, whatever your number is, if you're not doing 75% of that on your meeting nights to include Sunday, then your petition to be a Mosque will not be granted, because you have to show where you're 75% of your numbers on all of your meeting days in order to show that you'll be able to sustain the responsibility that will come from being a Mosque. So, in conclusion, in wrapping this particular part up, you have to first and foremost go to the people. I would suggest that if you're a study group, that you find 2 to 3 housing areas to conduct your Wednesday and Friday meetings. I would go as far to even say your Monday and Saturday classes. And yes, even Sunday, if you get permission from your nearest mosque to show the webcast on Sunday, go to the community center and invite the people out to the webcast in the community center. If they will not come to you, this is why we instituted, or some of you who heard us when we got our number that night at Muhammad Mosque number 90, was called the Mobile Mosque. One Sunday out of each month, even now, right here in Jackson, Mississippi, mosque meeting is held in the community, because I cannot depend on the people to necessarily come. I'm going to make sure that we get this teaching to them. So one Sunday out of the month, you should set up Sunday meeting to be shown in the community center. Secondly, your local barbershop and salons. Go in and just start a discussion, but base your discussion on something that you're most comfortable with speaking on and defending, and always base it on these 4 principles: how you can prove it Quranically, biblically, or what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. If you cannot prove it on those 4 points, don't speak on it. Next, Don't forget to go to your local parks where our people are gathered and just spark a conversation. As raw as it may sound, as rough as it may sound, I'm on this line to share with you what has been effective and what worked. And if you just go to the parks and just start a community center, a community discussion, get your bullhorn, start a discussion, you will be amazed of how many people will gather around to hear what you say. Go immediately after your Sunday meeting or go on Saturday after MGT class has concluded, and you go to the parks and do it that way. Next, don't forget to have your follow-up team to call those who came to hear what it is we have to say, thanking them for coming out, taking time out of their schedule to hear what it is what we had to say. They could have been anywhere doing anything, but they took time to be with us. And in addition to the follow-up team, they are encouraging to come out to the next meeting that we may be having, based upon whether it's a brother or a sister. Next, don't forget from the student minister's desk, a letter of thank you directly from you, thanking them for coming out for all the before mentioned that we just said. For the orientation and processing class, make sure that they are assigned someone that they may be able to make it all the way through their orientation class that will keep them encouraged to get newly registered and to be a staunch soldier for Muhammad. That person is not only there just to get help to ensure that they get X'd up, but also, as we said, to keep them encouraged, to let them know that they're not alone, and to answer any questions that they may have along the way. Next, once they become registered and the study group is growing, remember, you need to do 75% of whatever your numbers are on each of your meeting nights in order for your petition to be granted to become a mosque. And last and certainly not least from that standpoint, make sure, absolutely sure, that you're getting the minister's number one minister out to the people, and that is the Final Call newspaper. The Final Call newspaper has to be looked at like a military campaign. And as I shared with you, as a brother who, a two-time combat vet, I can tell you that ground troops never go in without there being some type of naval raid, naval gunfire raid, or some type of air assault strikes that is bombarded the position in which you're going on to soften it, to make it smooth for ground troops to move in. Well, that's what the Final Call newspaper is. The Final Call newspaper is that aerial assault that will prep the mind of the people so that when they come to hear what it is you have to say, or you get a chance to speak with them, or you get a chance to connect them to the webcast, their mindset is already being conditioned to better receive the word coming from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that will make them come aboard this to help. And the final point was that Brother Jabril said that out of every 100 black person on the face of the planet, out of every 100, one is born predetermined, predisposition, everything to already come and be a part of the Nation of Islam once they're introduced to the teachings. So what we did is went on an all-out campaign where we took our names and put it on a chart, and where we said from 1 to 100, we were going to introduce ourselves to 100 new people, introducing them to the teachings to find that one that was predetermined, that once they was connected to the word, that they would automatically come into the Nation of Islam. You may get it on the first one. You may get it on the 14th. Other one may be 72. One might be that 100 person. But we found that method to be absolutely true. we put up the 100 chart, and as we introduced ourselves to 100 new people, to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we saw our ranks starting to grow because we found one out of that 100 with a predetermined mindset to come and be a part of this work. So I would say to the study groups, put together your 100 chart. And each and every one of you make a pledge to go and speak to 100. And when you get to, you will find that between 1 and 100, you will find that newly registered X that will be forever thankful for to you, the bringing them to the life-giving teachings and putting their names in the Lamb Book of Life. In less than 2 years, because it was actually, to be totally honest with you, 21 months, we went from 7 to 51. And by Allah's grace, we was granted Muhammad Mosque number 98. So that's what I would like to offer in terms of how do you grow a study group into a mosque. I'm not sure, Brother Willie, do we break at this time? I know the other part had to deal with administration. I can take another quick 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, to go right into that. Oh, praise be to Allah. Thank you, sir. Now, know and understand study group, mosque, small mosque, big mosque, regional mosque, small study group, whatever the case may be. The one thing that was absolute stress to me while going through seminary school and while I worked in corporate America and even as a cop is that administration is where you will always get caught up at. What do I mean by that? Some of you may have seen by the help and grace of Allah that here at Muhammad Mosque 78, we've been blessed to be pretty consistent with making our goals in terms of first time 75% or sometime 100% obligatory and dealing with our new converts. And that is because of these reasons I'm about to cover now. In our student laborers meeting, the secretary is required to have a copy for every single officer that is at the table, a copy of all the actual facts that's taking place. What's on that actual facts? First, it starts out with how many believers that we have registered, how many are active, how many are inactive, how many are pending, how many are archived, how many are FOI, how many are MGT, how many juniors we have, how many of those are active, how many have gone off to school and still in a student association or connected to the mosque some kind of way, whatever the case may be when dealing with the registered believers. Then we deal with the goal of what is our goal every Sunday that we intend to get as an overall total number. Here at Muhammad Mosque number 78, our goal is to have no less than 75. That's registered first time, everybody inclusive. Our goal is to have no less than 75 every Sunday. And then we're given the percentage of how close we came to that percentage in terms of meeting our Sunday goal. Also, on that report is our national obligatory goal. What's our 100% goal? What is the 75% goal? Where are we right now as in terms of that? Our Savior's Day gift. Where are we in terms of our Savior's Day gift, 3-year economics, so on and so forth. Also to include our number 2 poor. Now, yes, we have a goal for number 2 poor. What is the goal for number 2 poor? The goal for number 2 poor is to be at the very minimum $1 more than what we have on everything else for the month. So, for an example, our goal right here at Muhammad Mosque 78, our obligatory goal is $1,770, $1,770 a month. Well, we intend for our number 2 poor to be $1,771. And that's how we stay focused on our goal. The secretary is required twice a day to check the numbers in the morning and to check the numbers in the evening to see if we're on track and on pace for meeting our first-time goal and our obligatory guest and our obligatory charity and every other goal. And it is literally something that we discuss with the actual facts in front of us. The processing class, how many do we have in processing? How many we have in orientation? How many letters are up in Chicago? How many have came back approved? How many have came back not approved? How many are set in orientation class right now that's set to go to Chicago? Who do we got on deck, and what do we have in the hub? All of those things are discussed in our laborers meeting right off the cuff. We discuss the actual facts. We go over the numbers, and every single officer is aware of what the gold is. That is the only way that you can properly administrate and stay on top of what, well, let me back up. That's not the only way, but that is a method in which we use to stay on top of what our headquarters has asked. Take obligatory gold for an example. Headquarters has asked is if every city were to at least make the 75% goal, then our headquarters will be able to make leap and bounds in the things that the minister wants to be able to do for our nation. Okay, then at the very least, come the last day at the final hour of the month, the secretary, the captains, we're all sitting right here at my desk as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, making calls, doing whatever is necessary if we have not already caught it throughout each week, which most of the time we do, to make sure that we make our goals. We make sure that Sundays is just not a day that's just used for first-time guests, that we do the best we can to bring first-time guests in on Wednesdays and Fridays. And I would tell you, because we utilize the community center still as a meeting for our Wednesday night and Friday night meetings sometimes, we do very good on our first-time guests on Wednesdays and Friday night, because we hold our Wednesday and Friday night study, the curriculum that's given us the headquarters, right there in the community center, as well as going on back here at the mosque. So we're working in dual places. But if you're not talking about the goals, if you're not having them in front of you, if it's not tangible, something you can pick up and look at and read, and if you're not going over it by the numbers, your administration piece will be in naught. How do you even conduct the administration meeting? Well, we were told a few years ago that our meetings, of course, we always open it up in prayer, but then we always should start with the word from either the Quran or the scriptures or from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we each take a few minutes to elaborate on what it is that we read to get us in the proper spiritual mindset that we're supposed to be in. Secondly, the order of service of the meeting. The secretary should be the first to go. Why? Because if something happens and the meeting has to be picked back up at a later time, or just anything happening where we're not able to complete the meeting, then the actual facts of where we are, what we're doing, what we need to do have already been given to everybody that needs to know. Who should go next? Protocol. Why? Because that's the connection to the community. The protocol goes next to tell what community events is going up and what we should be involved in and what we need to look at, or what took place and what we need to be aware of, or what is happening, so on and so forth. So you go from the actual fact, what needs to happen, what we've been doing, where we are, what we need to do, to this is how we do it, based upon the community involvement coming from the protocol. Next order of service, the MGT captain, then the FOI captain. And then lastly should be that student minister to wrap everything up from what they heard, as well as interject some ideas and inspiration in which may be coming from your particular office. I will also go to say that at least twice a month you should have a full staff meeting when it comes to administration. When I say full staff meeting, that consists of your Dianetics coordinator, your ABLE coordinator, and all of the other 9 ministry to come to the table along with the other principal laborers to discuss what's going on in their individual ministries, so we know what we need to do collectively as a whole for the benefit of the believers and for the overall movement and advancement of our community. So, in conclusion, the administration, you have to discuss the numbers, and you have to require your secretary or recorder to have those numbers legibly and on printed out. not handwritten, not, well, I think so, or I believe this. There's no such thing in math. It's either 2 and 2 make 4 or it doesn't. Everything has to be precise. And on those numbers, you have to discuss every single aspect of the operation of the function of the mosque, to the register, to the guests, to the orientation, to the charity, right down to the local bills. Those things have to be discussed. Where are we? Are we current with the cable? Are we current with the electricity? Are we current with the insurance? And that's another thing that you have to do administratively. Especially every mosque. But if you have a building that you're operating out of, you need to get an insurance policy. We have $1 million insurance policy that is umbrella. And I would suggest that you ask for it to be umbrella. Why? Because as you go to the community centers, as you go to the park, as you go to the barbershop, if anything takes place and someone is injured or whatever any accident that may take place while operating under the umbrella of Muhammad Mosque, whatever, or study group, whatever, you are covered. So get you an umbrella policy. Our policy, we pay $107 a month. It's $1 million policy, and it covers wherever we go to conduct nation business. That is a protection for our nation from any individual suit against headquarters, and especially against the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So make sure that the numbers are covered. Make sure that everyone has a copy of that in hand. Make sure that twice a month that you have a full staff meeting with all of the ministry and everybody involved, to include the lieutenants. They need to come in and hear the intricacy of the mosque, because they're the ones that's being trained up to replace us. They're the ones that's got to take us in case we fall in battle. Whatever the case may be, twice a month you need to have that full staff meeting. And make sure that your secretary are watching the numbers twice a day. And any changes or anything that need to be alarmed, he or she are utilizing the brother and sister captain to make sure whatever needs to get done is being done, and a report is given to you. And when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, if you're the one ultimately responsible in the city, then you need to take time out of your day, every day, to make sure that you have touched base with every one of your disciplines to see if any information has been passed on that you may have not been privy to, or to disseminate any information to them that can be passed on that you have been privy to. This draws the team to be closer. It makes a tighter connection. It keeps you more informed, because none of us who are in the laboring should never be asked a question and we have to say, I don't know, or let me get back to you. So, Brother Willie, I fast and pray that this has been helpful. I thank you so much for the time and effort, and I guess at this time I'll be open for questions.
Yes, sir, my brother. Thank you for I'm already getting some text messages from people who are really finding what you have shared to be very beneficial. And for those people who may have called on late, I shared with Brother Abram that we've had two people that have talked about how to grow a study group from a mosque. A study group to a mosque. And what we're going to do is to take what they shared, and we're going to extract from it the practical principles that they have talked about. We'll put it in a document so those in our study groups who need it, they can have it. And, our brother he laid it out tonight. So if you're on this call right now, all you have to do is unmute your phone. And you unmute your phone by pressing *6. That's the asterisk 6. And once you do that, come on, if you have any questions to ask our brother, this is the opportunity to do so. So it takes a little while for people to get their phones. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, sir. This is Brother Corey in Charlotte. I thank you, brother, for the information you shared tonight on the call. I had a question for you, or two, actually. Again, great content on the call tonight. The question I had was, yes, sir, is do you have a template, just out of curiosity? I know we can always put together our own thank you letter, but I'm kind of curious what your thank you letter looks like, if you have a template or something that, we could be able to take a look at. And then the other thing is, with the administration meetings / laborers meetings, is there a template when the secretary provides those numbers? Is there a certain template that just numbers are filled in that you all use for that, or is it not necessarily a template for that?
Oh man, thank you, Brother Corey, for your Brother Corey, right?
Yes, sir. It's Brother Corey, Muhammad Mosque, 36 in Charlotte.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 36. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Brother Corey. And yes for both. I have a template letter that if you find the wording of it to be beneficial for you, all you simply would have to do is just take out where my name and information is and just input yours. And yes, we have a template that we use for our laborers meeting. In fact, we was blessed to be sanctioned by our regional minister that it's actually what they use there now. So yes, sir, we have a template for both.
And what you can do, Brother Abram, I'm going to send out a copy of this audio. So if you can email me that template, I'll make sure we send it out to everybody who's on the call.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I most certainly would do that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Brother Corey.
Okay. Is there anyone else who has a question? And if there's anyone while you're unmuting, Walaikum salam. Go ahead, my brother.
This is Brother Malik Muhammad from Waxahachie Study Group. I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you, brother, for sharing the information. It has been extremely beneficial for me and valuable to the productivity of our study group. I just want to thank you sincerely for getting on the call and sharing the information with us.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. Thank you, my dear brother. And I look, Muhammad Mosque number 99 is out there now.
That's right. That's right.
That's the next one on the block. Thank you, brother. And I thank Brother Willie again so much for having the foresight and the vision of putting this together. Thank you, brother.
Praise is due to Allah.
Didn't know if someone else had one, but I did have another question. It's Brother Corey again, and just out of curiosity, because we've run into, from time to time in the past, we've run into a couple of challenges with the housing center, getting into some of the centers. Did you all run into any challenges being a religious group? Did y'all have any, any problems getting into those housing community centers?
Yes, sir, we absolutely did. Thank you for that, Brother Corey. What we did was we found that don't come with some of them that you find or have a feeling that there may be a challenge, don't come under the banner of religious meeting. Come with the banner of the study guides, meaning that community development. And when we found that we were coming in with community development and we're bringing in informational classes that will be good from a financial, physical, mental, and spiritual standpoint. We never lied. We said financial, mental, and physical and spiritual standpoint. We found that the doors open even wider, and we were able to come in. So my suggestion would be that, dear brother, we came with the under the umbrella of community development and bringing in programs that would enrich the community.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Here's the I have two questions, Brother Abram, and if there's anyone else who has questions, please get them ready. But also for those who are listening, we always ask this. If you can make sure you can text me, please text me after the call, what did you get from what our brother presented tonight? Please do that. That's valuable input, valuable insight. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear your thoughts. And what it does is it helps us to craft the next upcoming, just the people that we want to bring on. But two questions. One, do you do the ministry full time, a job, and you do the ministry? And when do you have your laborers meetings? Because with myself and all of our laborers working, man, sometimes that's one of the challenges. So that's the two questions that I had.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, I too, for right now at least, punching the clock as well. So it's not blessed to where I'm able to wake up and come and report to the mosque and be here and do the function from there. So it's definitely a time management thing. And what we do is we have our meetings like we had this evening. We have our labor meeting on Thursdays. And the reason why we have them on Thursday is because it's not a meeting night. I don't want to be rushed. I want to go through, everything that needs to be gone through and all that we have to do, as well as we have to have time left to deal with the other cities that are under our charge, the other study groups that are under our charge throughout the state. So we have it on Thursdays, and when we're unable to have it on Thursdays, then we have it Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And we try to make sure that is done no later than 9:45, so that I can debunk from everything that we just got from the labor meeting and get to the word at hand. So I hope that answers your question, Brother Will.
Yes, sir.
And let me also go on to say that we have our meetings every week without fail, which also means that even if we're unable to physically meet, and this has happened sometimes, we have a conference call line that we all at least get on the conference call and still go over everything that we said earlier.
Okay. And in your comments, you mentioned how y'all have a goal of 75 every Sunday. Is that you all have a goal of 75 first-timers or 75 in total, at least 75 in total attendance, or 75 believers in attendance?
75 in total attendance, excluding total attendance excluding juniors. So it consists of believers as well as first-timers.
Okay.
Our goal for first timers is 15 each, 15 a week on Sunday by itself, 15 a week. As a mosque, the goal is 50 for the month. So we have that goal of 15 a week.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else had any other questions while our brother is on? Okay, well, since no one else has any questions, Brother Abram, I want to really, really, really thank you, man, for the excellent job that you did and the work that you were doing. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This is Brother Bourbon. Assalamu alaikum, Monroe.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Brother Bourbon.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Abram. How you doing, sir?
Wa alaikum salam, dear brother. Fine by Allah's grace. Self?
I'm doing fine, praise Allah. I wanted to ask the question when you was in Pensacola, because a lot of study groups that have moved to Mosque status, maybe they had the number, prior to 75, and they were able to acquire it again. But I think Pensacola was a mosque, a study group that actually literally transformed itself into a mosque.
Yes, sir.
My question is, what type of help did you get? Because I know if Pensacola is in that 7 region, I know Miami was an awful long way. What type of mosque help did you get in, Pensacola to help push you to where you was able to achieve mosque status?
Okay, thank you for the question, dear brother. As you say, the closest mosque at that time was Miami. Later on, Jacksonville and Tampa turned in their charter. Brother Rasul did exactly what Brother Minister Willie had me doing tonight, was in charge of the Panhandle in Central Florida of all study groups getting it in, and we were blessed to get them turned into their charter, turn their charters in by following the same blueprint and program. Unfortunately, we didn't have any mosque help, brother, but what I did have was a captain at that time who absolutely believed in the vision, was absolutely the type of brother that was all out. I mean, he was 100 all the time. And he was constantly having me involved in something community-wise to where the word was getting out. So that was really where the help came from. We just, the 7 of us, we called ourselves the Magnificent 7, the 7 of us, 4 brothers and 3 sisters. And we just believed in each other. We just bought into each other, and we just worked. And as each new registered X came in, we just brought them in with that working spirit, and it just kept growing from there. And we even shared with them the importance of them reaching back and bringing one in. And so that's how it really was effective that way. And another thing was that we really went after a lot of families. So whenever we was able to get the wives, we was able to get the husband and the children too. We got the husband, we got the wife and the children too. So, that was beneficial as well. But when there's no mosque that's close by that might be able to give you that support, you heard me say just a few seconds ago how we meet and we discuss the other study groups throughout the great state of Mississippi, where we actually have time frames where we mount up the soldiers and we go into those cities and we get it up. Like right now, we intend to give Greenville, Mississippi, make that a new mosque and present it to the Unbelievers Farrakhan's the Saviors they give. So, we go into the city and we take the soldiers and we mount and we make it happen that way.
That's it.
And Brother Willie,
so much.
I don't know thank you, Brother Abram. I look forward to seeing you again now, brother.
Oh yes, sir, most definitely.
And Brother Willie, if there are more questions, I'm honored to take them. I got nothing but time, but I just want to humbly ask you if at the end, if I could make one more point as it pertains to the Saviors they give, something we're doing that I think might be helpful.
Oh, for sure, my brother. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else has any questions? Anyone else?
Could you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, ma'am.
This is Sister Lilia from 46 here in New Orleans. I just wanted to thank you so much. You have given a lot of information. And you know what? I thank you for you and the Magnificent 7 zeal. This is a lot. Wow.
Praise be to Allah.
So much.
Well, sister, you are exceedingly blessed, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the line. You have that with you, and I know you know because you're there with him every day.
Oh, yes, I do. Ooh,
no,
yes, I do.
You got
I be in the streets talking about this young man. I'm like, wow, y'all need to come. Y'all need to see him. Don't
listen,
miss out.
I'm telling you, he is in fact one of the bright minds and one of the strong ones that would really help us get over the hump. And I'm just so thankful for him being my brother and him being. I never ever met brother in all my time in the nation. I've never met him, and he's not always been the absolute same. So it is he I thank for facilitating this, and I thank you, brother.
Oh, praise due to Allah. Same about you as well. And anyone else? Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, if not, go ahead, brother Abram. Your last point.
Praise be to Allah. Everybody heard, or if you have not heard, you've been informed. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did something that he never does, and that's asked us for help from this monetarily way as far as the Saviors they give is concerned. And as you heard me say, I'm a military man. I just got to be right with y'all. I mean, I know how to operate in all fields. I know how to operate. I don't wear my suits as good as Brother Willie. I'm not as polished as he. You know what I'm saying? But I know how to do it. But your brother know how to walk with Stacey Adams, but I'd rather walk with Tim's. I'm really grinding like that. But the Saviors they give, we got to be about getting it. So this is what we did. And so far, I think we're going to see the fruits of it starting this month. Starting August as we getting ready to do it. We discussed in the labor's meeting. We started a little bit already. We just was looking at the track record. And what will help you with your first-time guests, as well as helping you with your Savior's Day gift, we have given to the believers that any believer that brings 5 first-time guests in 1 month to the mosque, to the meeting, they will receive from the laborers $100 towards their Savior's Day gift. If they bring 5 first-time guests in 1 month, they'll receive $100 towards their Savior's Day gift. If that guest accepts and become fully registered within 60 days, they will receive $200 towards their Savior's Day gift, and that newly registered X will receive $50 towards their gift. And I'm telling you, the believers are on fire about it. So I believe that is going to help with the increasing of our first-time guests, with ultimately going to help with the increasing of the ranks of those in the ranks, but also is going to help us to reach our Savior's Day gift goal, and it's going to help us to reach that by us going out and simply doing the work. So we already have to pay out $200 right now, because we have one brother, we have a brother and a sister who already did that for this month. A brother brought in 8 and a sister brought in 6. And so they'll be receiving their $100 towards their Savior's Day gift this Sunday. Now, notice what I said. You would take the money and put it on the Savior's Day gift. Don't put it in their hands. All right? Just being real about that. You take the money, and the secretary gets it and puts it on their Savior's Day gift. Okay? We don't, we help the believers stay believers. Okay? So that's I'll just leave that like that. So they get presented the money in front of everybody on the last Sunday of the month. They get presented in front of everybody, but it's really like a ceremonial type check, because the money goes in automatically under their profile towards their Savior's Day gift. Does anybody else think that might be helpful or good?
As innovative, man. My question. So, and the way you so that money comes out of what, the local charity?
No, sir. What we have done is said that that's one way that it can be done. But what we did was say that if we have a believer who would take the time and the effort to go out and get the lost found, to bring them here, and also in effort to ensure that they do their part to complete the Savior's Day gift, that the least we would do is give the $20 amongst the 5 of us, the 5 principal laborers. So that's how that comes. Yes, sir. Okay. But we also put a clause in there that if we run a little short, then we'll get it out of local charity, and to make sure that the believer gets that. But like I said, it's only been we only put it out there at the second week of July, and as you all know, this month will be over with Monday, and we had 2 believers to make good on it already.
That's good, man. May Allah continue to bless you all, and people are already sending text messages saying they're going to actually look into doing that as well. So, man, we thank you, brother, and we thank all of you all who are on the line. And everybody who's on the line, we want to remind you that this information is to be taken and to be applied, to be used. Our brother laid out a lot. And just from off of what Brother Dr. Abram said, and what our brother Robert from Austin said about how to grow a study group from a mosque, we can put together a mini manual, a mini best practices, though, for because they're not talking about something that's theory. So we're going to, while you were speaking, Brother Abram, I was already typing up what you said, and I'll send it to you to proofread. If you want to add anything, add to it. Then I'm going to go back, Mike, tonight and listen to Brother Robert from Austin and type what he said, and we're going to
give this to those study groups that we want to assist in creating and starting to getting into a mosque. I'm going to try to even, I get some time, I want to even try to make it into like a little activity where they have to listen to it and answer questions. So we thank you. And for those believers that are on the line, please send your text messages. I'm going to be up. Send text messages letting me know what you gathered from our brothers.
Please.
And be as detailed as you all can, folks. You know, if it's long, make it long. I see y'all make long posts on Facebook, so I'm not tripping. I'm joking. So thank you all who are on this call. Once again, Brother Abram, thank you, man. And inshallah,
thank you.
On that list of people that we want to bring here to the city. And, you know, we have Brother Malik asked the question. I think you probably heard his presentation, and I want to even get with him and write down what he did, because our brother went into a city where there was no Islam, and he raised up a flag and Waxahachie. So we have the
absolutely
draw from it and utilize, and that's what we want to do. So thank you all. May Allah continue to bless each and every one of you all. The next call that we have is going to be on, and I'm going to be closing out on this point. The next call is going to be on August the 3rd, and we have our student captain of Muhammad Mosque number 46, Brother Jason Muhammad, and he's on August the 3rd. He's going to talk about how a student minister can aid the work of the student FOI captain and vice versa.
Oh, yes.
Make sure you all are on, and thank you, family. May Allah continue to bless each and every one of you all, and this concludes our call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, sir.
Wa
thank you,
salam, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Praise be to Allah.